Welcome back, troops, to Let's Tab 59. So going a little bit further then in the little series I've been doing to commemorate the Normandy landings almost 80 years ago, we're going to talk about Utah Beach. I've covered some of the other beaches, you know, and this is the first time I'm going to cover Utah Beach, first American beach. So before I get into it, I'm just setting off from home to break in the weather. It's been raining. I wanted to do this one outside and not in the house. So while it's dry, I'll set off on the tab now and start the tab off with a little chat about Utah Beach. So if you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying consider it. It really helped me. The channel's been going almost a year. I think August I started in 2023. We're now June 2024. So if you could subscribe just to help me push the numbers up a bit, that would be really helpful. So Utah Beach, one of the two American beaches that the invading Allies went into in June 44. Now, thankfully, out of the two American beaches, Utah wasn't such a high casualty rate. As many of you know, Omaha, or as it was nicknamed Bloody Omaha, really did take a pasting, a bit like Juno Beach. So I can't go through all the units, American boys that went in, but I can tell you a little bit. So first of all then, on Utah Beach, there was two American divisions on the ground landing, the amphibious landing force, two ground divisions. We had the 4th Infantry Division and the 90th Infantry Division. But also they had the 4th Cavalry Regiment, some tanks going in with them. So they went in on the landings with the rest of the invasion force on the beach. They were the ground force. Now, prior to that, early hours of D-Day morning, 1 o'clock-ish, something like that in the morning, you had two airborne drops going, two airborne divisions, the 82nd and the 101st Airborne. And they went in early, as I say, done a massive parachute drop. And the idea behind that was that the airborne forces would be dropped deeper in and they would capture a vital crossroad near a town called St. Mary Eglise. Now, unfortunately, a lot of them were blown off course. A lot of the ground had been flooded, and they did do it, they did capture their objective, but it was a rough old time for them. If you ever watched the film The Longest Day, cracking old black and white movie from the early 60s, I believe, it depicts it quite well. You see the airborne going in and landing, and in fact some of them, if you see in the film, they actually drop into St. Mary Eglise, into the town square. And I forget the guy's name now. I did know it and I've got it written down somewhere, but he actually landed on the steeple of the church in the town square, and he was stuck up there on his parachute hanging. And in the film you'll see a German soldier comes out, and I think the American para is trying to cut some of his ropes to get down from his position so he could carry on the fight, because you can see his mates getting shot pretty bad down there. And he drops his K-bar knife, or bayonet, and it rattles to the ground. German soldier looks up, fires a burst of submachine gun fire at him, actually sort of shoots the sole off his boot. And at the same time he's getting deafened by the church bells, which is now ringing, I suppose because the invasion started and because there was a big fire going on as well. And the little fire brigade, the village folks and town folk trying to put the fire out. And he was hanging up there. Now, that is actually true. And I've visited St. Mary Eglise in the past, more than one occasion. And those that you know, or if you see footage, YouTube footage maybe of the town now, St. Mary Eglise now, you'll see that there's actually a dummy model of a full-size paratrooper with his parachute still hanging off the spire. It's quite poignant. But there's a museum just across the road from the square, and if you go in there's actually a letter in there, because The German soldier that fired that day at that American paratrooper saw the film The Longest Day and found out that the American soldier survived. He thought he'd killed him and wrote him a letter, and I think the letter's in the museum still. But anyway, so the airborne had gone in to capture that objective, to make sure that was secured so that the ground force could push forward and reach all their objectives. Now, as I say, the total ground force that went on the landing, let me just check my facts and figures. So the 4th Infantry Division, 19th Infantry Division, 4th Cavalry Regiment, they totaled 21,000 men that went in. They suffered 197 casualties. Now, of 21,000, I'm sure that 197 weren't all KIA. That's not bad, that's quite light considering. It's always sad when people die. I'm not paying lip service to those that died on Utah Beach, but in the scheme of things, it's very light casualties. Now, the airborne drop, the 82nd and 101st, there's 14,000 of them. They took 2,500 casualties. So as you can see, the old paras, it's quite often the case of airborne troops. They tend to be in the sticky end, a lot of it, certainly on D-Day, British as well. They always tend to get higher casualties. So, also part of that airborne invasion were glider troops. Similar, not quite the same gliders, but similar to what the British had when they went into Pegasus Bridge. So the American airborne also had glider troops. Now, on board those gliders, they had heavy equipment, they had jeeps and other stuff. And unfortunately, some of the jeeps actually were getting loose now and again and pushing and killed a few of the airborne lads inside the glider before they even got down. They had some terrible casualties just from the gliders. So that was Utah. As I say, I'm no historian. I can't go into all the history of what happened there on Utah Beach. But that was the first one I've done on the American landings. I will be covering the final one, Omaha, bloody Omaha. I thought I'd keep that to the end because that is a very significant beach. A lot of casualties, and as you know, Omaha Beach was the one that's portrayed in Save It Private Ryan. Again, on Utah Beach, going back to that, a lot of them were blown off course, landed slightly in the wrong positions. It's quite a common thing on D-Day, and that made life a lot more difficult for them. So as a tribute then to the American guys that went in on Utah Beach almost 80 years ago now, and I know some of them are over there right as we speak now, just before the anniversary. They're over there now, seen it on the news. Some of the veterans that are surviving are out there. So to them and all the other guys that went in on Utah Beach that day, and I know there's some Royal Navy lads that got them in there as well, I'd like to do a little toast to them, to all veterans on Utah Beach, all our American cousins, thanking them for their service. They will not be forgotten. We will remember them. Okay, thanks for listening to my little effort at trying to pay some form of tribute to the guys at Utah Beach. So stay safe, everybody. Won't be long till the next video, you know that. Until then, won't be long. Stay safe, and remember, let's tap.